And now we're live. This is Feral Polymaths episode like 4.
It's four.
And I am Gail Towell, and this is.
Marylea Quintana.
And today I am a cowboy, and Marylea is a messy hoarder in a robe.
That's correct. Which totally am not every day.
Exactly.
Depending.
Yep. That's just life.
I filter.
So, yeah, that's your filter. That's a fake background. Marylea's actual room is pristine.
So clean. And it totally doesn't have a typewriter.
No. The bed is like made, like everything's just orderly.
Oh,
Orderly.
do you
Just
want
like my
to
room is.
this
Ooh, exciting.
this is what Alfredo got me for my birthday last year. This is somebody who really knows what I like in life. And look.
Oh, it's got a brain inside. Okay. For
Correct.
those only listening, Marylea has a skull with a brain inside, but
And
like not her own. It's like a different one outside of her body.
that's right.
Oh,
Which I hoarded in my room with all the very useful things for podcasting.
yes. And today I am using some Google filter that turns me into a cowboy with a mustache because I think I look quite handsome like this. So
Amazingly, yeah, you look
it
trustworthy.
goes well. Like maybe I need to start taking testosterone and transitioning, but I don't want to do, I just feel like that'll mess with everything. And I'm just going to stay female, but I'm going to have this filter.
Too much effort.
My pronouns are whatever makes sense so that no one's confused in the conversation.
Whatever you said, that's it. But I'm wearing a
As long
mustache.
as whoever you were conversing with was able to figure out who you were referencing, then it was effective and it served its purpose.
I mean, could you? Well, I mean, you know, I totally can see being very mustache envious versus having penis envy. Like the penis always
Oh
seems
God, the facial hair is the best, man. Look at this mustache.
it's very nice. Yeah, it's kind of I feel like is one of his chief goals.
I mean, I like I was telling Marylea before we started recording. I mean, I have a mustache. Like it's not very substantial, but it has to be like shaved or plucked for like being socially appropriate at times. There's also some chin hairs that come in, you know. Um, it was like a competition between me and my 16-year-old son for a while, who was going to have the best one, but now he's winning. So
my child has a mustache too, but both of my children are girls.
yeah. Well, my trans kid, who's born female and is taking testosterone, is getting some facial hair coming in, pretty good stuff, you know.
That's a
So
deal. See, so there's the goal.
yeah, he's visiting in a month. We'll have to compare which child has the better facial hair so far versus mom's, you know.
Yeah, and
And
then
then my husband, he grows the scraggliest, like pathetic facial hair when he doesn't shave. So he does just
he's
like
like,
shave it, or
testosterone.
what are we trying to do here?
I
Like
get some.
mine's better than yours.
Oh man.
Yes. So ah, whatever. What is life? Who is it? I'm trying to remember the name now. Karen Uhlenbeck, brilliant mathematician,
Absolutely.
glorious mustache.
Karen Uhlenbeck was totally unapologetic about her mustache, and I thought it was the awesomest thing ever.
Exactly. Normalize facial hair on women, even though it's a sign of hormonal imbalance and probably health issues. Right?
Yeah,
Right.
but still, it exists, right? We
Exactly.
you don't disappear just
Mhm,
because you have a hormonal imbalance.
mhm. I had this great conversation with my 12-year-old about leg shaving recently because she started shaving her legs, you know,
Mhm.
because, and I'm like, yep, I got just fur all over mine, but I'm going to a wedding and it's like a wedding with a bunch of like normal people with like religious beliefs, and I'm going to have to wear a dress. I'm like, I hate shaving, but I will shave for that. not because I'm like trying to conform, but because I don't want to be like conspicuous. Like, I'm not doing this to be conspicuous. I'm
That's
not making a political statement. I literally just don't like shaving.
you don't want
But
to be assumed that there's that your entire existence has turned
this is
him.
not my identity that I don't shave. Although, like in Portland, Oregon, like you get away with that all the time. Nobody cares. But like Georgia is a little different. As I was telling my daughter, like shaving is like, I mean, you can do it, you cannot do it. In certain social situations, it's considered abnormal to not do it if you are female, but maybe that'll change in time, or maybe you want it to change and you're going to make a statement, or maybe you don't care and you want to shave, or maybe you just like shaving your legs. So the decision is yours. She does gymnastics, she shaves. And I'm
Yeah,
like, you don't have to,
I'm more aerodynamic
but
by
you
shape.
are more aerodynamic, and maybe the snooty kids will look at you less weird, which could be, socially comforting, but like it's a choice you make, and it's a choice you make in the context of larger society,
Well,
right? It's
yeah,
like there
I
will be consequences.
I mean I always shaved my I don't anymore because why would you? But for years I shaved
Who
my
am I trying to impress?
for years I shaved my legs. But I never ever shave my arms, and I don't know if you can see like that I have significant.
Nice and
I,
furry.
I even get like long ones on my arms.
Ooh, exciting.
Disconcerting to some people, and I've always found it really irritating and officious if someone suggests my shaving my arms. And I think it's because when I was in elementary school, people would like point that out, and it was like favorite thing because my teeth stuck straight out and I had the furry arms. It'd be like, "You're a rabbit, you're a monkey, you're a rabbit monkey. Oh my God, Marylea is a rabbit monkey." So,
And you didn't turn into a furry.
and I was just like, "I'm keeping it, guys."
Okay.
So
It
there.
keeps me warm in the winter. What do you mean?
I actually always thought of it as like a cat's whiskers. I'm like, ooh, I can sense
Ooh,
things more. I have a heightened sense of sensory perception because I have arm hairs.
exactly. There you go. It's a superpower. Mhm.
Exactly. Of course. What else
Yep.
would it be? So,
Ah,
what irritated you this week? I think I'll start there.
ooh, boy.
You learned.
God, let me think. What do I want to say versus not say that in a public forum? I'm just gonna say I have a general distaste for inefficiency and
Uh,
make work. Like when like someone has a role or a job in which they just make things up for themselves to do that aren't purposeful. But
that's
this
surprisingly
has nothing to do with my main job I have, if anyone from there is listening. I love that job. I'm very happy there.
that job is
But this is some side work. And I'm just like, I could go on and on, but I think I'm going to like not get into details on that. But I feel like I've seen even just over the years so many like one thing, if you work in writing and freelance writing,
Mhm.
there's like two kinds of editors. There's the ones that give useful feedback that makes the writing better. And then there's the ones that like move little things around all over the place so that they feel like they did something, but it doesn't actually lead to anything useful.
right,
They're like, okay, we changed one word out for another word that means the same thing, but not in any like significant way. And then you moved a section to another section. They really could go in either order. Okay,
right.
you've done a lot of little things.
And
Why?
yeah, I think the scariest thing about that is that you have not only a bunch of people that are like, it would be kind of okay if you can get away with it, let's say, Yeah, there are arguments for doing the minimum in your job, anti-capitalist, whatever arguments those are. However, like the fact that the same people who are doing these like very minimal things that are meant to prove their worthwhileness in their position will also defend their position and be angry at anyone who gets like puts a nose ahead of that standard and just
Mm-hmm.
bring the entire thing down. That is really sad, especially if that person is in a position of power where potentially they could make it better for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
There
this,
is so much. I mean, God, there's a great book. I'm trying to remember what it was called. Bullshit Jobs. Bullshit Jobs.
oh,
That's
right.
the book. And this guy kind of, I don't remember who wrote it, but it goes into great detail about how many, particularly in corporate land, you end up with all these little jobs that like the people in them don't really have anything purposeful to do. And they either don't do anything or they do stuff like around in a circle for a while. You could cut like half of them out and then magically everything still runs and it's more efficient because there's fewer bodies in the way.
It's David Graeber.
That
David
sounds
Graeber.
about right. But yeah, that's a good one. I liked that. Very interesting things there. But yeah, I've definitely seen when I was freelancing for a lot of different places, there were definitely a lot of places like that. Sometimes you get the super efficient, everything's working like a well-oiled machine place, and then you'd get the ones where it's like there's 20 layers of bodies in the way and they're just kind of moaning and walking around like zombies and like what is happening here? Why is this how you function? Anyway, so you know the whole argument that we should move to like 20-hour work weeks or something. I mean, literally, you wouldn't have to accomplish less to do that. That's my general thought on the world of work and business.
That's right. We'll have more to say about that, I'm sure.
And now, Marylea, what made you annoyed this week?
Oh God, there's so many things. No, I think the main annoyance that I had this week was actually an annoyance with the way our brains work. Like just an annoyance that like that your thoughts like that your emotions can mess you up. Like you're
It's
going along.
almost like you're a biological organism and not a robot. I know, it's like insane, isn't it?
It's like I was coasting along, having all these intentions, and then these other things, which are also exactly me, but somehow I persuaded myself are coming from somewhere else. These thoughts are intrusive. They are coming from elsewhere. They are memories. They are this. They are that. And it's like, oh, my all of my intentions got totally derailed. And what do I do about that? So yeah, I what I'm annoyed by is that I can't either like reconcile myself into one being that is like okay.
Have you considered that drugs might be the answer here, Marylea?
Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
Drugs are an answer. No,
Ones, all of them.
or just like copious amounts of wine. You know, there's
Definitely that helps. I have a bottle of Grand Mariner over here.
there you go. I mean, what are you worried about here?
Well, yeah, you're right. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess there's many ways to alter your mood.
Yeah, I mean, why just rely on your own biology?
It's very
External
funny.
interventions are abundant.
That's true. That's true. I've got to start externalizing a lot of things. I have to externalize my calendar and my organization, so I might as well also externalize my like feeling of well-being.
Yeah, I had a whole thing with my youngest child about that this past week. Or we're in the first year that she has like final projects and final exams, and it was like I can't just wing it at the last minute and get an A. I have to plan and schedule and study. It's like a whole new world right now.
Yeah.
Like, what
But
does this mean? Why can't I just hold it all in my head at once and do it at the last minute?
that's worked
Well,
before.
yeah. I remember I hit a point like that in my life. I think it was after I had all my children, and it was like, I'm done trying to think with my brain. I need to put this on paper somewhere. There's nowhere for it to go.
Yeah, the kids obliterate any sense of like order to anything.
They do. I was talking with my husband recently just about like, I mean, I had a massive career pivot when I left teaching community college and moved into the world of freelance writing. And now I'm content. What's my job? God, I never remember what I do. Content stuff, content marketing specialist, which I don't even think quite encapsulates it. I get to do lots of nerdy things too. Okay.
Yeah,
So with science and
that's,
math. Okay.
yeah,
So,
that's
but,
it,
like,
the strategy is, well, it
yeah, I
should
get to
be
be creative
get more.
and sciencey. It's really fun. And to write a lot because I like writing, because I like explaining things and over explaining things and then making them more understandable.
That's
And
great.
maybe someone will like it now. And then they'll like me. And then I'll feel like self-worth as a human. So that's how it goes.
That's another way to.
Where was I going with this? Oh, yes. There's a reason I didn't pivot into anything that would involve programming. I would be a kick-ass programmer, mind you. Back in my undergrad days, I can make the most maximally optimally efficient algorithms like nobody's business. But that requires sustained focus. And if you have children and dogs and other shit going on, all that's going to do is make you angry all the time. All
Frustrate.
the time. So much anger. Like, that was all gone. I have to start over.
Yeah, because you're
So,
foiled, constantly being foiled
exactly.
in your
So I
effort.
need things that I can, like, if I get stopped from it, I can get right back into it. I can be thinking about it while doing other things and not like, I don't know. I maybe one
Yeah,
day, although now you can program using Chat GPT and you don't have to know the language. You just tell it what to do.
right.
I'm like,
So
I could do that part.
you're
I could
like,
do that part really well.
I could tell it what to do and then go deal with all the crap that fell down because my dogs and kids decided to like have a mud wrestling experience.
Yeah, who knows what's going on? Yeah. So,
That's yeah. Yeah, ChatGPT is the wave of the future.
all right. So we talked about what made us angry.
Yes.
And now we got to talk about what we learned this week. I'm going to make you start because I can't remember what I learned this week. I'll have to think about it while you're talking.
Well, I think I was telling you about this already. Not in front of the podcast listeners. You guys don't know about this, but Gail does. We talk when you're not here. We sometimes even talk about you. But what I had learned about, because I've been busily experiencing taking control of my own finances, is I learned about the bond market. That's what I learned about this week.
The bond market. Tell us more, Marylea.
So, I mean, this is really dumb, but I thought it was kind of fascinating. Maybe, probably any finance person is like, yeah, that's the definition of it. But I was excited. Okay, so I'm going to tell you about
Most
it.
people have no idea about the bond market.
Okay. So there's like, we have a general idea. Okay, stocks exist. Companies issue stocks. You buy them. A person who is wealthy enough to buy them buys them, and then over time they get bigger as the company gets bigger, and the company also like gives money because you own their stock as they grow. So like that's how stocks grow. And bonds, you're the first story you have about bonds is like, okay, the government or a bank or whoever issues this bond and says that they'll pay you back for you giving them some money, right? So it's like a loan from you to it. But somehow you think of these as like equivalent investments, right? Or like similar beasts. One is the more stable version, one is the more volatile version, because bonds are issued by these reputable things, and stocks are issued by these crazy companies that, you know, are not FDIC insured or anything, right? And what I found out this week is that they are completely different animals altogether, in that stocks, there's a fixed number of stocks in the world, because basically there's a fixed number of companies that issue stocks, and each stock issuing company, it issues a fixed number of bonds that divide up the funds for the company. And that's it. Like from the beginning of the company till the demise of the company, that stock is the same. And that's why it's so volatile. It's not because the company is crazy or its value is going up and down like crazy, although that happens too. It's that the market that you're trading on is the same stock. So as it appreciates or depreciates in value, you're able to trade it the whole time. And it's that very thing that is being traded. So it's like, I don't know, like a market on top of a market, you know? And then, but with bonds, there's probably still a fixed number, but infinitely more, not infinitely, an order of magnitude more of bonds that exist in the world, because any entity, any bank, any podunk bank in the middle of nowhere with a weird name, any, you know, pretty much anything can issue a bond or like a CD where they say, hey, we're making a promise to you. The only thing you're buying is the promise that we will give you this at this insurance rate. And the insurance, I mean, not insurance, this at this interest rate. And the interest rate is also fixed because that happens via an auction at the very beginning. It doesn't change. The interest rate on that is done. That's its limit. And it will always be that you get back, unless it's like a different type of bond where they can call it back, which you don't want. Just in general, if you want to buy a bond, don't buy a callable bond, because they can be like, oh God, this is not going well for us. We're getting this bond back. So that's what I learned about. I also learned about other things about bonds, but maybe this is getting super boring.
Wow, that's some. Now we all have our financial advice for the week. No, that's good stuff. Like I feel like I don't know enough about financial things. That's the thing that always makes me so angry about the school system. They don't teach it. Like the whole math sequence in high school is like algebra 1, that makes sense. Geometry, okay. Algebra 2, trigonometry, calculus. And I'm like, only people going into STEM careers need those. What everybody needs is financial literacy and a basic understanding of statistics. But you know, we won't. Why teach that? That would be useful.
Well, also I feel there's a priority on keeping those things esoteric, because there's an entire economy or entire industry that's built on top of people not knowing what they're
Yeah, I needed a financial advisor because I had
not
no idea what to do. Well, it's like
having the agency.
taxes. Taxes make me so annoyed because you have to figure them out. But if you do it wrong, they're like, no, you did it wrong. Here's what it should have been. And then you're like, well, why didn't you just do it in the first place?
Yeah.
And to avoid that, you have to like hire someone and pay them hundreds of dollars. Here, do my taxes for me so that it's not wrong. Because even though I'm fairly certain I read everything and did it all, they kept telling me it was wrong last time, even though I thought I had good evidence that I didn't do it. Okay. We were audited like a year ago.
No.
But yeah, that's a whole story. It was like something about you can't be claiming this child for this thing. I'm like, the child is 16 and that says you can claim them until they're 17 and they're not employed and that's what the math that you guys gave on this form gives. And I showed them and they're like, no. I'm like, but where's your counter argument to the no? Because I provided you the math from your form.
And what did they say? They were like, too
Well,
bad.
we looked into other things, and actually, we're not giving you that back, but we found this other thing where, we can, give you this part of a refund, but then we found this other thing.
Oh my God, this
God,
sounds
don't
like such
even
a game.
like. My husband had moved some money because he thought his company had said something about this happening to some retirement account, and it's this
Right.
whole thing, and it's like. And then they also were like, "Oh, and you didn't claim your earnings from your book sales on Amazon." And I'm like, "You mean like the $10.98 I need to pay like $1 of taxes on that or something?" Like, why do you
Why
care? I
double
didn't even
this?
remember that happened. Like,
Exactly.
oh, I hate how convoluted it is. It's so stupid. Like, why do you have to hire people to do your taxes for you?
Yeah,
You
it doesn't
know.
make sense. Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's very weird when you start to dig underneath why we do things. It's very scary.
Yes,
If you
yes.
start questioning the premises, it all starts to look a little suspect.
I've heard that many other countries don't do it that way. The government has it figured out because they have it figured out, and then they're like, "This is what you owe," and you're like, "Okay,
That sounds good to me.
sounds good to me." Yeah, I don't know, man. I've always found tax. Well, I think it doesn't make me abnormal. I find taxes extremely stressful.
Yeah.
I think that comes from like having been poor earlier in my life, and it was very stressful when you're poor.
Yeah,
So
it is very stressful.
yeah.
Well,
So,
when well, as you know, I inherited something somewhere along the line when I was like very young. But what I didn't know about this and the way I got introduced to the IRS was that for years I had been doing the taxes with the same tax guy. Well, I didn't even know I was doing this. It was my mom who was like, "All right, we just use the same tax guy." It was like this little old guy that used to do my grandparents' taxes.
mm,
And I did not even know that I had anything because no one, everyone was like, "Okay, she's too young to know this because you don't even know about this part of the family or anything." It was all a big mystery. So I found out a lot about all of this when I was in college, and I got a letter from the IRS saying, "Guess what? You owe and back taxes."
and you're like, what?
It's like my dad's gonna kill me. My welder dad. Like, what the heck
Where is this
happened
money
here?
going to come from?
It was very scary. And then I found out that it was just like some kind of weird error that was very easy to like fix because it wasn't like it hadn't been being done. It just had been being done minorly incorrectly. And they had also made a mistake in the way that they had calculated it too. So it turned out that actually it wasn't such a horrible thing. But man, was it scary.
Yeah, stuff like that is just the letters are always so like, "You must pay this by this day or face the wrath of our something." I don't know what they're gonna do to you, but it's
You'll
gonna be
be shunned.
scary.
You'll be shunned.
There will be shunning. Well, that brings me to what I learned this week. I just
Oh,
occurred to
yay.
me. Well, sort of, I'm in the process of learning by listening to an audiobook that I frequently fall asleep to at nighttime, so I'm missing pieces. But shunning just made me think of like Puritans and stuff because I don't even know how I came across this anymore. So I'm listening to an audiobook called, see, I never know what things are called or who wrote them.
Let's
Albion's Seed. I want to say it's Albion's Seed.
see.
And it was written in like 1989 or something. And it's this talking about the way different cultural factions came to America. So you've got like the Puritans coming in to wherever they were
Yep.
Salem area, you
Yeah.
know,
That's the place for
Massachusetts,
doing.
wherever it was they landed, like Plymouth Rock or,
Yeah.
and then
Big.
and what their culture and values and
Mhm.
society was like. And then it was talking about like the Cavaliers that came to Virginia and what their culture and values and stuff was like. And then the Quakers coming to Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
Marylea
that's
knows
right.
about the Quakers. And I'm like, boy, it really makes sense that that's the Quaker state and it's called Pennsylvania now, which I guess I knew that before, but now it's like, oh gosh, they were really there and they were just setting things up and
You know that
doing their stuff.
you know something crazy? The road I live on, I'm not going to say the name of it, but it intersects itself many times. And it's like there's even a point where you go to the corner of the road and it's like the corner of this road
It's
and
like a
that.
Mobius strip.
And I'm like, what the hell is going on? And what it is it's the outline of the tract of land that was given to the family, the Quaker family that came with William or under the William Penn Charter to like this exact spot.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, it's been interesting, like just sort of listening to like, and the thing is you can go to these regions today, and a lot of the existing cultural differences you can trace back to there, and it's kind of like it's weird to me coming from the West Coast where we're like, 3 states cover the entire coast, and there's not that much differentiation. I
Right.
mean, but like you over in the East Coast, it's like all your tiny little states with all your tiny little communities and your tiny little differences. Like
Down to the
it's all
act.
super weird over there.
Oh yeah, I feel a cultural difference between New York and Pennsylvania. I feel a cultural difference. Well, I'm like at the nexus of all these different things, right? So I'm like in Pennsylvania. I go to I go to Delaware frequently. I'm often in Maryland, and of course the corridor across New Jersey to New York. And I lived in Connecticut before as well. So like I've like and we were at
We
Smith.
were at Smith in
So
Massachusetts.
I've like got like I've actually like deeply experienced a whole bunch of the cultural differences that you get in New England versus Quaker Central and all of that. And absolutely, that is 100% true. Like
Yeah, it's
you
so
can see
interesting.
people
Like there's
thrive.
so much more going on there on that East Coast. Over on the West, I mean, we also have like a not as long of a history on the West Coast because we just disregard the native populations there before, right? That doesn't. I mean, there was those, there were
Well,
natives there for however long too, but we've eradicated them mostly and supplanted with our new cultures.
so
And
yeah, I mean that's very much there was a in William Penn's charter there was a provision for the Delaware people that were
yeah.
and they
And
got screwed by his sons like
I mean,
royal.
the natives get screwed. They got screwed everywhere, man. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
like descendant from the Muskogee tribe of
Mhm.
Oklahoma, but I think they were originally somewhere else and got ended up there from some like we're kicking you out, go live over here now. And
I-
I mean, even in where I live now in Nevada, like where's
mhm.
the Paiute tribe? Oh, they're up in the northern area. They get that lake that has desert around it. They don't get the pretty lake. They get the one that apparently has the souls of dead children in it or something. I don't know, something like that.
There you go.
But
And
but
John
yeah,
Casper over here.
exactly. So, but yeah, West Coast, the history doesn't go back nearly as far, right? I mean, our settled history, right? We've got the whole Oregon Trail that we all learned about in Oregon, and I think you
Maybe
other people learned too.
your game.
And you've got, I mean, basically, if you're in like Western Washington, Northwestern Oregon, Central to Southern California, the culture's all there's some differences, especially in California, but like it's all very liberal, very similar. But then
Right.
you go to like rural Oregon, rural California on the eastern sides of the state, it's very night and day. And anyone who's heard of the whole Greater Idaho movement might be aware of this. That side of Oregon is like we're nothing like Portland. We detest Portland. Portland
Wow.
is the bowels of evil, and we want to be Idaho because we are more like Idaho than we are like Portland. And it's true, they're more like Idaho than they are like Portland. So
So there's like a secession movement out of
there's a whole bunch of counties on the eastern side of the state have voted to join Idaho. I don't know if this will happen or what has to occur, but in some ways it makes sense because like the whole state's being represented by people who live in the Portland area and not by anyone who cares at all what's going on once you get, east of the Cascades.
what
So
what
to be fair,
to think of, is Idaho like, come on guys, that sounds awesome, or are they like,
I don't know what Idaho thinks about this, to be honest. Maybe I should ask. My sister lives in Idaho, right on the Idaho-Oregon border, and my in-laws live in Idaho, much further north from there, near the border to Washington State. So maybe I should ask them.
yeah,
Maybe they have deep thoughts about this.
weird Oregon immigrants coming into Idaho.
Yeah, both my sister and my in-laws came from Oregon to move to Idaho. So they're part of that group. So yeah, it's like here in Nevada where I'm at, like, because California is only like half an hour away to the border, and like we're like 3 hours from Sacramento, 4 or 5 hours from the Bay Area. We get a lot of people moving here from that area.
Yeah.
And so when we moved from Oregon, we were okay because we came from Oregon and not from California.
It's like,
We're not one of those. We're not one of the Californians. We're from Oregon. So we're like way more morally superior. So that's good.
that is good.
You can wave that around. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you were talking about the differences from the English experience. But one of the things that I find really weird is that apparently the liberalness of New York, a lot of the perception around New York being a melting pot and all of these different ideas are a holdover from the Holland, the Dutch, yes? Is a holdup, New York was New Amsterdam, right? So the Dutch, people that got assigned to go and like colonize the New World who were Dutch. Dutch was a wealthy nation of merchants, and they did not want to be there. They only pretty much wanted to make money. So they were basically like kind of pissed off about being there in the first place. Definitely were not Puritans, not against drinking whatsoever. And they were kind of like, look, if you got money, we're fine with it. And that's why there was a huge culture of like drinking and liberalism, because basically the Dutch colonizers were like, we don't really want to move here and it sucks being here. So
We're just gonna do whatever we feel like. Yeah, it's interesting because like in this book, they like trace back all these different groups of people that moved over, a lot of them just from different parts of England. And it's like those that came from this county in England where this was common, they brought that over here, and then it kept going. And even speech patterns and dialects and all of that. I don't know, it's interesting. I had someone tell me not too long ago that I have an Oregon accent, which I thought was weird. Do I have an Oregon accent, Marylea?
not that I've ever detected, but I don't know.
I mean, it would make sense. I lived there most of my life, but since I'm from there, I don't have an accent. Everybody else is the one with the accent, right? That's how that works. You sound very Pennsylvanian, Marylea.
I totally do all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there were all these huge debates when I was a kid in Pennsylvania. Like, we really try to distinguish ourselves against other places and be like, we say soda, but in Ohio they say pop.
I think we said soda pop where I was from.
Oh my god. Well, I although I did learn, I never realized that I was Pennsylvanian until I went to Smith. And at some point I was trying to talk to somebody and I was like, oh, my brother, he drugged himself over here to help with the They were like, he did what? Oh, he had to drug himself out of bed and
Is that a Pennsylvania thing, or is that just no one taught you how to speak properly? So that's
like
what I would
both.
wonder. Oh,
There's a higher incidence of not being able to speak properly in central Pennsylvania.
oh, it's the Pennsylvania culture. Yeah, I mean that's one of the things in this book is just like a lot of the things we associate as being like Southern accent related or how the Virginians talk. Like that actually came from England. There was a place in England where people talk like that, and then they came over here and started talking like that more.
That makes total sense.
So yeah, it's weird. It's weird to I don't know. I find history so fascinating these days, but when I was like a kid in middle and high school, I was like, God, I hate history class. I'll memorize all the things and get my A. Do 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 do. None of it means anything.
Oh,
I had like no context. I mean, I grew up in like rural Oregon and we never really went anywhere. Like, so the
is it
world was like, what is that out there? I don't even know what's out there.
now you're like, oh my God, if I understood where this came from, I would actually have a chance of understanding it.
Yeah, now I'm like, why are people like this here? Well, let's go back 100 years, then 200 years, then 300 years, and and then soon we're like, when was the dawn of civilization, and how did that occur, and how did we decide that that's what that was, and why is Europe like this, and Africa is like that, and then and read that Guns, Germs, and Steel book, and I'm like, just like,
You're like,
ah,
finally. And
yeah.
then some postmodern person comes along and they're like, all of this is in the eye of the beholder.
You're like, no, I'm pretty sure it's just a complex system that a lot of things don't have simple explanations for. But
Right.
if you know the history, you can kind of see how it got to where it is, right? So,
That shut them up.
yeah, yeah. And then I keep watching all these like, what was it, those Vikings TV shows with like
Ooh,
Ragnar Lothbrok and all this.
yeah.
And, it's like, it's not very accurate history, but it is kind of little bits of it. And so it's like,
Right.
wow, England was all these tribes and all these things. And
Mhm.
it's just weird because you think about England and Europe as like, yes, and that's where civilization was. And it's like, no, no, no. There were a bunch of tribes roaming around, and then people started coalescing into larger organized situations, usually with the help of some sort of religion taking over the region to get everyone on the same page.
Yeah, cultural technology religion.
Yeah. How do we get all these people to be like with us? Well, we have to convince them they're going to burn in hell if they don't. So let's do
Yeah,
that.
there you go. That works.
Oh, now everyone's scared and submissive. Yay. Ah, yes. Human psychology is another one of those things that's just endlessly fascinating, like especially in the modern era where we have so many new inventions that affect how we relate to each other, yet we are biological organisms that were like subject to evolution and that's how we got here. But now we have all these factors that are like going way faster than typical evolutionary like things that would modify how you evolve. And so, whoa,
Just, oh my God, how do we keep up?
what do we do? I mean, the whole
Well,
feeling of being so, I mean, COVID really brought this home, just like detached from other people and not connected to other people. And like, I have my husband and my kids at home, but like, I keep feeling like I'm missing some larger. Part of why we're doing this podcast is this feeling like I can't connect externally well, and I can't express my thoughts and ideas in a way that ever lands anywhere. And I'm in this hole where I can call Marylea on the phone and she gets it, and then, but then I'm alone again, except for the children and the husband, and I love them. I love them very much, and they're very smart. We have great conversations too, but it's like I think you just need more, like, and it makes sense from an evolutionary standpoint, right? We're like tribal creatures that supposed to form packs, and
No, and
be
even
social.
in history, I mean, I think there's a lot of the modern view of why there's such pressure on marriage as an institution is not just that, okay, we're in a modern society, we have sexual freedom and things like that we didn't have before, and feminism and all of that stuff. Of course, that's a big contributing factor, but that another aspect to it is that we have put an enormous amount of pressure on our families as the entire resource for emotional well-being, for activities, for socialization, for intellectual stimulation, for like every single human need we have for contact. We're going to the same people for it, and they get fucking sick of us.
Yeah, yeah.
They're done with our shit. And so that's one theory. I think Esther Perel and a bunch of other people are kind of in that zone of like trying to explain how so much pressure got put on people that they're like falling apart, and that by the same token, it gives this opportunity to have this like super amazingly fulfilling relationship with another person, precisely because you're trying to mesh your entire world with that person,
Mm-hmm.
instead of it being just like, okay, this doesn't really matter even if we like each other, as long as our families are cool.
Yeah, it's weird. It's just it feels so hard to like connect with people. My best feelings of connection with other humans I tend to get is when I go to the dog park with my doggies.
And
And there's people there and your dogs will break the ice. You can talk about your dogs. It's great.
it's like, I think it's way easier to relate to people if there's a dog in front of them. Also, if the dog
Which
is nice, then you're like, oh, these people might not do you so bad either.
yeah, yeah. And then you just start talking about other things and you feel like you were a human for a little while, you know?
Like, yay. I it's funny that, so I have tried, I have a lot of meaningful interactions with like completely random people. Like at the supermarket, I'm like buddies with the person that always checks me out. We like ask about each other's kids and know all these things.
It's always nice when you encounter someone like that, right? Usually, like everything's hostile.
Yeah, it is. It's super nice. And I'm like, I will never go to another grocery store again, because then I wouldn't see my buddies.
Yeah, I remember back in Oregon, there was one checker that was always pleasant and how are you doing? And it was just like, I'm having a human connection instead of like, they're robotically and how did you find everything you needed today? That's great. Bleep, bleep. I mean, like, all right, I'm gonna bet, just
Yeah. Well, yeah, and of course, like culturally in New York, like that's not the experience you get ever.
oh my
So
gosh.
I'm like, I'm mad.
Speaking of new culture, like what was it? It was Princeton. Oh
Uh-huh.
my God. I remember when I was in a summer program at University for Advanced Study in Princeton, and I went to the grocery store there. And
Yeah.
I had, like in Oregon, where I was from, you put your grocery, if you just have one of those little hand baskets, you
Yeah.
just put the hand basket on the conveyor because
Right.
then they just pull
Yeah.
things out and it's like really efficient, right?
Right.
So I did that. And then the checker just stops and waits, and I don't know what's going on, and then somebody else is like, you got to take your stuff out of the basket.
Oh my
I'm
God.
like, oh, okay, like but I wasn't even going to be told. I was just going to be stared at until I figured it out. I was like, okay, I won't come back here again, they hate me now.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Anyone who's listening from New Jersey, you are tough. I don't understand. I feel like to get anywhere in New Jersey, you have to like be upfront, asshole-ish about it, or nobody respects you. It's just really bad.
Yes. But meanwhile, on the Institute for Advanced Study campus, it's glorious. And there's a pond, and the birds are tweeting, and all the people are super smart and mysterious, and it's really cool. But
Oh,
I don't go to the grocery store.
it also really, really helps that they like serve wine at lunch. Like, yeah, this is just part of the deal if you're here.
This is intellectual stimulation.
Or conversations across fields.
It's okay. There's a lot of people that are very introverted. And indeed, oh my gosh, I will never forget. What was his name? The Fermat's last theorem guy, Andrew Wiles.
Wiles.
Boy, he looked like he'd come out of a cave. So
Wiles.
pale, has just like no ability to connect with humans. But he's he did the proof for Fermat's last theorem.
He's
So
awesome. Well, do you
there's
remember?
just some sacrifice involved.
Do you remember that you sent me on a mission so you went to the Institute for Advanced Study first because you were like the more senior of us, and then I went the year after you did, and you told me that I had to get Andrew Wiles' signature.
Signature.
Had to get.
He is scary to approach. Actually, it's more like you scare him when.
Yeah.
Maybe he's better now. He was wonderful. He was very wonderful.
Did I ever tell you what happened when I did that?
Oh, I can't remember.
So I went to his office and he opened the door extremely startled, and he had a can of like Raid in his hand and was like very worried. And I was like, hey, he's like, and I think he thought that I had come to help with the hornets that were coming into his window.
He's having hornets. I thought there was like that whole cicada or locust situation going on too at the time or something.
Yeah, for locusts too, but I don't think it was locusts, it was hornets. That's why he was scared.
Okay. Scared of the hornets.
Contact. And I remember like being like, I can do it. Like jumping in.
I will save you so you can math more.
And so like he was actually very friendly to me because I saved him from the hornets. And we ended up talking. I talked about you, and I talked about like our different ideas about numbers and things. And then I was like, I told him that, you know, that one of the things that I found difficult about number theories, I had all this processing issues with numbers themselves, and that was worrying me in terms of learning more of the underpinnings of number theory. He was, of course, he was like, that's total bullshit because, of course he was like, that's not what numbers are, And one of the things that I never forgot that he said was, well, don't worry. If you stick with them long enough, numbers will become your friends.
And that is what happened to Andrew Wiles. Numbers are now his friends.
His friends.
Oh.
Brought it back to you.
Oh my gosh, that was such a good time.
It was for good time.
Those were the days. Yeah. Now we're just old women. Very boring. Middle-aged moms. You got some gray hair, man.
I think I'm like balding in the front because I put my hair in a ponytail, and now because I put it's starting to fall out in the front.
It doesn't appear bald or thin, so I think you're good still.
Like it. Oh my god! And yeah, I've definitely got
the grays, man. That's what children do. Except I don't have, like, as far as I can tell. I should take my hat off here.
Like your mustache. Oh yeah, you look pristine.
I'm a month older than you too, so I don't know what your problem is.
Everyone is a great thought that I've had.
Oh, okay. I guess I just never think. Fine.
That's not true. That's what I tell myself.
My husband's getting lots of gray hairs. Yeah.
No,
he's only 6-7 months older than me, something like that.
Yeah, I thought it was like a myth that hair changes due to stress, and obviously it can't change overnight. But apparently, stress totally can contribute to gray hairs.
You've been really stressed out, I see.
Like I spent a lot of.
I've been living a stress-free life myself. I've never been stressed in my life. It's all perfect.
Okay, all right. Actually, I don't think we're going to find the explanation.
I think your hypothesis is false. It's unsupported by the evidence.
That's probably correct.
Our two data points here are in conflict.
We do not have sufficient
sample size
for a meaningful answer.
Pretty much.
That's from Isaac, which we should talk about next time. Oh,
What should
are
we
we?
talk about next time?
Oh, about AI. Oh, well, I was thinking of the final question by Isaac Asimov.
Oh,
All those fun things that we've been talking about.
man.
Thinking that next time we go that way.
Yeah, origins of the universe, meaning of life, the small things that we
How
think about from time to time.
how music changes emotion.
Music, what is its purpose evolutionarily? And yeah, oh my gosh, so many thoughts around that. I have a lot of thoughts around that related to language, not just language, communication, I guess is a better word, because language is one form of communication. And
Yeah.
I can tell you, my dogs have figured out how to communicate with me without like any human language.
Oh yeah.
Um, Yesterday morning, they told me they needed to go on a hike. And they did this in a coordinated way that involved like looking at the door, a little bit of hop, looking at each other, the right little moans and grunt noises. And then if I made a motion that was any way indicative that I might be looking for a sock to wear or something, they were like, yeah, you're on the right track.
Yeah.
You're on the
Yeah.
right track. Like, and then as soon as like I'm all right, let's go on a hike, and then they were like boinging up and down and like spinning
Hooray!
around in circles and like running back and forth between me and the door. It's like, oh my god,
She understood
we
us.
got it. We've communicated our desires.
Yeah, infants would die if they couldn't communicate through their
Yeah,
whining and crying.
exactly. So, but like communication, so music is an interesting thing because I think it's like a weird thinking mechanism. Like now I am aligned with something external or a pattern or something is predictable or something that's structured in a way that's, I don't
Yeah.
know, there's something there. And then
I
there's art, right? What
what
kind of communication is that? What's an emoji communicating, right?
and why is it so effective?
Yeah, memes, man.
Memes are
Kids
hilarious.
will tell you about the memes.
Yeah. Or Facebook. Because we're still on Facebook.
We're on Facebook. The children are like, Facebook, mom. Ugh, I'm going to TikTok and Snapchat with my friends.
Oh, oh,
Like, I don't understand TikTok. I don't get it. Why are these videos? What's happening?
I don't understand.
Like, you're
I'm
just too old.
on other
Too
things
old.
that are not the thing that, yeah, it's like so many meta videos.
Mm-hmm. They definitely, boy, the children, they go down rabbit holes with like the things they find that are interesting because the internet will do that to you, you know?
Yeah, and they're
Like
starting
my
it.
daughter is like, I want to read this book. And I'm looking it up. I'm like, written by a Japanese author in 1947 or something. Like, where on earth are you coming across this? Like, okay, well, it's in the public domain. So download a PDF, I guess.
Oh, good. And enjoy your life learning about all kinds
Yeah.
of things.
Like, all right. You're happy. I guess that's good. So, yeah. But yeah, are we wrapping up this episode already?
Are we? Is it time?
I don't know. It's been
It's
like an hour.
an hour
We
and
can
50.
keep going. It doesn't matter. It's not like there's a time limit. I mean, we do have lives outside of podcasting, but I mean, that's just like dishes and laundry right now. Who wants that?
Really painful. I mean, we could. I think um I don't know. What do you think?
I'm gonna let you make this decision, Marylea.
Oh Jesus.
And if you decide wrong, then there will be harsh punishment.
I feel hesitant to say this because it sounds so like I'm like so I have to do a flyer for an event and that sounds like I'm not normally being busy is not what I am. So it's not
Oh
like
yeah, you're never busy.
I
That's what
feel
I
like
noticed.
well, I mean I'm busy all the time, but I'm usually it's like with crappy things. But I'm like excited about this, so I want to finish it, but I'm also like I also feel like if I represent me as somebody who's like, well, I've got to go because I have important things to do, that would be totally misrepresenting like anything about my life.
I have things to do. None of them are that important, and nobody should care. But I'm gonna do them. Yeah, I gotta check on the t- the youngest child's studying plan. Like, yeah, we got some preparing to do for that math final. Let's just say that.
I mean, this is fun though. I mean, I also want to do it again soon.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
going all the good
We
things.
will podcast again, and at some point, these will they'll be like coherent, centralized topics that we choose. Or
Yeah,
maybe not. Or maybe we just ramble and everybody will enjoy that because we're so cool.
obviously, they all want to be our
Exactly.
friends with our gray hair and our like.
And my mustache.
I'm pretty
Very
sure
nice
the
today.
mustache is going to convince them. Personally,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Howdy, partner. Yeah, it was before we started recording, I lived near like the whole, that Bonanza show. It was in this area ish. Oh yes. There were cowboys.
I love Bonanza. I feel
Mhm.
like it feels weird that there's so many shows that were ubiquitous when we were kids, and they're just like, why would anyone go back and watch them ever?
Yeah, the children, they know nothing about these. They're like, what?
Bonanza.
What does that mean?
I mean, I feel like Little House on the Prairie maybe will survive, but still, like, I could see myself going back to look at it.
Hmm. Yeah, this is why you gotta ship your kids off to their grandparents every so often. They'll get that culture, you
Like,
know, watching I don't even know what my parents watch. It's like shows from the 50s and 60s on
really
what is that channel that plays all the old things?
or something.
I don't even know.
No, either. That was Turner Movie Classics, but I have
Yeah, it
no.
might be like that. Like the Waltons. They'll be watching the Waltons over there. Yeah. I'll be like, get some culture, children. Ha 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 ha.
What about the past through our very accurate sitcoms?
Exactly.
The
Oh,
total
yes.
like the way
Yes.
it was.
All families were like this, and this was everything back then. Yeah, that's all that existed. There were no there were no minorities, except
No,
every once in a while one would show up and it was like a thing,
I
you
was
know?
like, we're gonna
Oh,
make a whole episode around this.
oh, we got a black friend today, everyone.
Oh my god.
God. We need to be nice to other people.
Never thought of that before. Definitely did not think about that until this moment.
Oh, alas.
Man.
Oh, well, yeah. The children these days are like, why is that even a thing they're making? Huh? Why are they confused? It was a very different world. It was a very different world.
It is. Definitely is.
Well, let's go ahead and sign off for today. Marylea has very important things to do,
I am so
and we
like
will stop.
I'm gonna continue wearing my robe to do them though. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah. As soon as I end this call, though, my cowboy hat and my mustache and all this goes away. Man,
I don't know.
I'll have to be a woman again because
I'm
I'm like a mother to children and things. So,
I'm pretty sure we should get you a 10-gallon hat now. A leather one.
mm,
Because it's
well, I'll
super
head on out to Virginia City, which is about, how far is that? 45 minutes away. And I bet because they got all sorts of bonanza shit in that town. And they got the little boardwalk sidewalks, and then they got the little saloons, and it's a
well,
whole thing. They
maybe
even have a shootout performance that happens every so many minutes. It's like a
maybe
thing.
maybe we should take the podcast on the road and do
Ooh, yeah. Dude, I
visit.
don't know if I could do this in public. I would be so self-conscious.
It would be
I'd
great.
be like, oh my God, this is humiliating. I can't. Oh well. Oh well.
That's the shame about being ambitious that you actually. That's what I felt about the show when we did our show for the art show in New York. It was super exciting. It's like, okay, this is what everybody wants to do. Like, you make an art so other people will see it. Other people seeing it was the worst part.
See,
the best
when I was
part the best part was having it all arranged on a big wall so that it looked like a real thing and being like, "Oh, it's so
I
pretty."
made it pretty. Well, see, like when I was in Portland, I was involved in this group that would put on these 10-minute play fests. And so I'd write and direct a 10-minute play like
They were
every so many months. And
they were awesome.
watching the theater full of people see my play was actually very satisfying because I'd be
I can see.
writing into a void that no one ever reads it or sees it or cares. And this was like, oh, there was a theater full of people and they clapped.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, these are hilarious and good and thought-provoking and mathy and awesome.
Yeah, and depressing, and usually at least one person would cry, you know.
I loved it. It was super cool. I think maybe one of these podcasts we should couple it with one of you should we should analyze one of your plays and link to it.
The one that's the people in the guy in purgatory with the
Yes,
devil
love
that goes in a
I
loop,
love it.
and the beginning is the end.
I
Yeah,
love that one.
that was fun to write. Put some oh, now I can't even remember. Gödel's theorem stuff up there, man.
Girls,
Yeah, on the whiteboard. I had this whole thing where they would like write stuff and the other one would erase stuff and then the other one would write. But by the end, the board was the same as it was at the beginning and the conversation had come back around again. Ah, that was fun. I love that one.
Oh, we should do this as like an endless video. I don't know. How many actors do you need for it?
That one only required 2, I believe. Yeah. Do you want to be the devil or the mathematician in purgatory?
Wow. You might have to be the devil.
Oh, yes.
That sounds awesome. We should totally do this as a project. That will be the entertainment portion of our podcast.
There we go. There we go. All righty. Well, we are going to sign off. I'm going to stop recording, but we will say bye now. Bye, everyone. Until next time. Also, you can visit us at feralpolymaths.com, or we have an email. There's a contact thing on the website. I don't remember what the email is. It's something at feralpolymaths.com, but who knows what I put? Probably info or something stupid.
Ooh.
All right. Until next time, everyone. Farewell.